Welcome back to my channel, Fazbear's Menagerie of Madness, where I'll explore the universe of Five Nights at Freddy's and I hope in a new and unique interpretation of events. Elizabeth Afton's story starts with her death, but it's the why that's more complicated. Her life is a product of absent parents and a desire to connect with them, but all she ended up being was the villain. Raised in the Afton family, she grew up in a town of New Harmony, next to the Fredbear's family diner. And while this would be the best thing for a child, it meant that her father would be busy developing animatronics and business strategies. Little is known about the mother except for a lullaby she may have sung to her children. Following the events of the Bite of '83, William had raised his 3 children himself. A younger son who was injured by an animatronic, an older son whose attitude changed to the remorse following the role he played in his younger brother's injury, and a daughter trying to connect with her father in the absence of a mother. While Mike and Crying Child had their troubles, Elizabeth seemed to be faring better than them. There's a chance occurrence during the events of the 4th game that a vase of flowers will appear next to the Crying Child's bed. This may be Elizabeth wishing her brother luck in his recovery. During the day session, flowers decorate the bedroom next to the Crying Child's. This is likely Elizabeth's room. A Funtime Foxy can be found pulled apart on the floor of that bedroom. This likely means that the merchandise for the diner, Freddy's restaurant, and Circus Pizza location were in circulation at the same time. This could signify the restaurants are all open at the same time as well. William and Elizabeth would travel to the Circus Baby Pizza World restaurant, where William would keep an eye on her and she would get to meet her new favourite animatronic, Circus Baby. On the first day that Circus Baby Pizza World was open, Elizabeth would get the chance to meet Circus Baby, just the 2 of them. This would result in Elizabeth's own death. Leading up to the event, Circus Baby was aware that her program was different.
I would always count the children. I'm not sure why. I was always acutely aware of how many there were in the room with me. Something happened when there was one, a little girl, standing by herself. I was no longer myself, and I stopped singing. My stomach opened, and there was ice cream. I couldn't move, at least, not until she stepped closer. There was screaming for a moment, but only for a moment. Then other children rushed in again, but they couldn't hear her over the sounds of their own excitement. I still hear her sometimes. Why did that happen?
The reason for this, I'm guessing, comes from Spring Bonnie. Following the events surrounding Charlotte Emily's death, Spring Bonnie, whom I've previously made an episode suggesting is haunted by Mrs. Afton, had witnessed the puppet break free of its prize box and went to the aid of Charlotte. It's what happens next that would get Spring Bonnie's attention. The puppet started to cry and marked its face with 2 tear streaks. This showed that Spring Bonnie isn't the only haunted animatronic resulting from dying under tragic circumstances. This would require an experiment involving an animatronic, and a new restaurant and animatronics would be needed. I suspect Spring Bonnie ensured that Circus Baby would test that thesis. As Circus Baby would function on its own, then I'm suggesting that Mrs. Afton had no intention to capture her daughter Elizabeth. That would be the unforeseen circumstance of modifying an animatronic into a mindless child trap. On the first day of the restaurant opening, the Fazbear Fright story Dance With Me takes place. During this time, a bag thief would take a pair of glasses along with the bag. These glasses are used by customers for Bellora's performance. The performance I would suggest involved Bellora going invisible by the use of special light bulbs that we've encountered before during the Twisted One novels, and the glasses provided by staff would cut through the invisibility. Bellora would appear as a hologram to customers. Customers would be unaware that their brain patterns were being affected by Bellora's tech. As the opening dialogue from Sister Location includes,
"There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state-of-the-art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those."
She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, Those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
When Ballora left the restaurant, she pursued the one carrying the glasses. It's likely the staff was searching for Ballora. This would call all staff off their stations. For Circus Baby, throwing a sheet over her could be enough to discourage children from interacting with the animatronic. It would allow staff to vacate Circus Baby's private room. This was when Elizabeth came down from where she was sleeping and found her favourite animatronic alone, just for her. Elizabeth pulled off the sheet and that was enough to start the Circus Baby's experiment.
I still hear her sometimes. Why did that happen?
At some point, William would need to remove the body of his only daughter. He couldn't bring this to the public's eye. He would need to declare her missing, another reason to close the restaurant. Whether the gas leak was true or not, William couldn't follow through with it. He would go back to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant and be the night security guard. Here, a rift between the Afton parents had formed. William would not be so complacent with the freedoms of Spring Bonnie. In the decades that followed, Elizabeth went through great tragedy. Even following multiple changes in host bodies, she still thought her father would be there for her, even during the events of Pizzeria Simulator.
You played right into our hands. Did you really think that this job just fell out of the sky for you? No. This was a gift for us. You gathered them all together in one place, just like he asked you to. All of those little souls in one place, just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy.
While I don't think that William was involved in Pizzeria Simulator, Elizabeth was tricked into thinking he was, by Henry. The final piece of information I have for you is a speculation of one of the last events that happened to Elizabeth in her timeline. The story that Candy Cadet gives us about the young woman, the witch, and the dark forest. Within the story appears the line, she had escaped being thrown into the oven, but would have a scar for the rest of her life. This line made me think of the events during the fourth closet when Charlie and Elizabeth fought and were stabbed through the chest by one of Henry's old animatronics that used a knife. This event took place after Carlton and William Afton was left in the room with the furnace that William would be thrown into by the animatronics. Using Elizabeth as a stand-in for the witch, this Candy Cadet story would translate to: when Charlie was younger, she was almost defeated by Elizabeth. While Elizabeth looked and sounded like her, and would also share the truth about her father, Charlie would escape William being thrown into the furnace, but would be stabbed, leaving her with a scar left by the damage to her animatronic body. Many years later, Charlie would return to search out and defeat Elizabeth. She meets with Gregory, who's accepted his place as an Afton. Gregory would lead Charlie into the restaurant with the bed and the burners, where Charlie is willing to wait until the morning. Elizabeth would close the restaurant doors as Henry had, and now Elizabeth would turn on the burners to start the fire just like Henry had before.
Looks like something bad happened.
Thanks for staying with me till the end. To find out when new videos become available, subscribe for future content.